We are delighted that you're joining us for another podcast of Wake Up Aligned, and it is the podcast for chiropractors, where we get to talk about chiropractic lifestyle, and topics of interest. You can contact us through our email, and that is mailbag@amcfamily.com. Welcome back. Glad to have you with us on another episode of Wake Up Aligned. I am your host, Dr. Shannon McMurtry, and pleasure to be with you today. I get to do this one solo, and I want to share with you a topic that I think is important and very overlooked. It's a critical component to your success and what you're trying to accomplish. And this is something that, with the work that I do one-on-one with chiropractors all across the country, this is one of the most commonly held characteristics, but most commonly underutilized characteristics, and that's enthusiasm. So stay with us, and I hope that you will tune into this and really hear what we're going to share. We have been working this year on a focus of pursuing for greatness. And when we've been working on that focus, we've been talking about certain characteristics or attributes that are present in people who pursue greatness or become great. We are still struggling with people who have a thought process that's like, I'm not worthy of greatness. I shouldn't even be thinking along those lines. So if that's still where you are, then think about pursuing greatness as pursuing for the God-given potential that you have inside of you. As long as you are reaching that, as long as you're chasing that, then you are on a path towards greatness. Today's conversation, today's subject is going to close out that journey for the year. And this trait is not an attribute that is only shared by one of those examples. This attribute is shared by all of those examples. And what I love about this is this goes right back into what Dr. Owen was teaching us years and years ago. So today, we're going to talk about enthusiasm. Number one, if you're taking notes, there's a phrase from Dr. Owen that says, enthusiasm is the yeast that raises the dough. Little low, no dough. Every single person that I asked to finish that quote was able to do it accurately. And very few people, in fact, nobody, knows where that quote is on the recordings. Some of them have not heard that quote in years, and yet they're able to recall it instantly. That was done by intention. Dr. Owen loved poetry, wrote poetry, and put together that quote with a cadence and a rhythm and a rhyme so that would penetrate your neurons. I love that. I love the fact that that concept is so readily available through your recall. What I don't like about that quote is when it's shared, when we say it even at summit meetings now, people smile and smirk and giggle, and they play with it. It's like it's real cutesy and it's folksy. And that's what I don't like about it, because it betrays the importance and the requirement of enthusiasm in our life. If you're going to pursue greatness, if you're going to chase what God has purposed in your heart and the potential that you really have, enthusiasm isn't optional. It's absolutely required. And all of those people that I shared earlier this year have enthusiasm. Now, it may be manifested different ways. Enthusiasm in their career, enthusiasm for helping people, enthusiasm for following their own spirit or their own purpose, enthusiasm for marching to their own drummer, whatever it is. But these people are excited and passionate about what they bring to the table and why they're doing what they're doing in this thing called life. So I want to start today with number 2 by just getting clear on where we are in life and really bringing a sense of reality and perspective about this life that we're living. And it sounds horrible to say, but number 2, there's going to be a lot of blah days in your life. In fact, a lot of your life, probably the vast majority of your life, is routine and mundane, right? Sunday is church, Monday through whatever day is clinic. You wake up at a certain time, you come home for lunch, you come home for dinner, go to bed at a certain time. Saturdays is this, and kids and hunting and blah, blah. You got routine that's going throughout your life. Now, that's not bad. But in that routine of life, maybe 80% of it is routine. You got moments that punctuate the routine of sheer joy, exhilaration, and pleasure. And then you have moments that are really devastating. Losing my parents, that was a pretty devastating point of my mundane life. The birth of my children, those are pretty exhilarating moments, right? But those are not events that I get to have every single day, thankfully. I don't think I could handle having those kinds of highs and lows every single day. But here's what you and I do. We take the blah days. I didn't sleep well. I don't feel well. My spouse yelled at me. Tire's flat. The bird pooped on the car. It's snowing outside. It's rainy. Staff is transitioning out. Patients want a refund. IRS letter, blah, blah. We take all these things and we give ourselves just any reason to take the enthusiasm that we have about what we're doing, pop it out of our body, put it up on a shelf. Well, when I feel better, I'll be enthusiastic. When the weather's better, when I have the right staff, that's very, very dangerous. Very dangerous. Because this is required for you to be great. It's not optional. So that's the first thing that I want to share with you. It's actually point number 2, but really where we're starting is just admit that we got a lot of blah days, right? There are days that are no fun. There are days that suck. There are days that are just the routine of life. But those are still days that you need to bring the enthusiasm for what you do to the table. Number 3. Even though you have a lot of blah days, a lot of mundane and routine and blah, 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 you still control 3 critical things in your life. You completely control these. You have dominion over them. And those 3 things are, you control your thinking, you control your attitude, and you control your enthusiasm. You control your thinking, your attitude, and your enthusiasm. Nobody else controls them for you. You can decide how you're thinking, what you're thinking about. You can decide how you feel about certain circumstances. You can decide to be high energy or low energy in any situation of life. But this is what you have control over. I don't have control over that for you. I have that control over that for myself. So here's point number 4. Of all those 3 things that you have control over, enthusiasm is the most contagious and most infectious. It's the one that you can actually transfer to other people. Some people may not get your positive thinking. Some people never get your attitude. But you get somebody who's passionate and sharing what they love, that will transmit to somebody else, and they'll start vibrating at a higher level. So let's talk about some examples of that. Napoleon Hill wrote a book, Think and Grow Rich. A lot of people have read it. In that book, he talks about Andrew Carnegie. And there's a point in that book where he talks about Carnegie and J.P. Morgan and some other very, very wealthy titans of industry gathering together to create a steel conglomerate called U.S. Steel. Now, these people were fabulously wealthy. J.P. Morgan was so wealthy, he used to loan the federal government money, right? When the federal government was strapped, they would come borrow money from Morgan. Well, these people are assembled, and Schwab, I think it's Charles Schwab, is tasked with the presentation for this group. And you would think he would come in with a lot of facts, figures, return on investment, numbers, stats. He came in with a vision, and he came in with enthusiasm. And Napoleon Hill says he had them eating out of his hand. Multimillionaires became multi-billionaires in that moment. Generational wealth beyond your imagination was created right there in that moment. Schwab himself became a multi-millionaire several times over in that moment. So it doesn't matter how wealthy the people were, how poor they are, education, ignorance, enthusiasm is that special quality that starts to vibrate people at a higher level. More than facts, more than figures, more than the logic of everything. What does Dr. Owen tell us? You motivate others with emotion. Enthusiasm is an emotion. Here's an example that I get a lot. People share things that they love with me as part of their good news for the day. So we have people who are involved in recreational athletics, and they'll tell me about how they did, and they scored the winning goal, and their team is doing well, and and I don't care anything about that. I have no desire to sign up for rec athletics, but I get excited to hear their good news. Another very common one that I hear, because I live in the South, is hunting. People love hunting. Kids first hunt, trophy, bag the only animal of the year so far, blah, blah, blah. I don't care about that. The last thing I want to do at 4:00 in the morning is roll out of a comfy, cozy bed, put on a bunch of gear, go out, sit in the woods, kill an animal. I have no desire to do that. Don't mind people who do. But when they're telling me that story, they're not thinking about me doing it. They're not trying to sell me on the idea of hunting. They're not trying to get me to convert to their lifestyle. They're just sharing their joy and passion. And I get excited to hear it, to be in that presence. And the same thing happens to you. You have people who share things with you that you have no interest in. And yet you get excited by hearing them express that interest with enthusiasm and love and passion. Here's some reality for you. If it's happening to you, if it's true because it happens to you, then it's true when it happens from you. What does that mean? You get excited when you hear other people be enthusiastic. People get excited when they hear you be enthusiastic. Now, what are you enthusiastic about? You're a chiropractor. You are enthusiastic about what? Patient care, patient results, chiropractic results. That's the stuff that jazzes you up. And so much so that sometimes in my good news portion, people will talk about their cases of the week or the month. And just, I can't wait to tell you about this patient's got results. And they'll talk and talk and talk. These aren't my patients. I don't have any idea who they're talking about. In that way, I don't really care about it. But hearing that journey, hearing that story gets me excited about what I do. I do the same thing in my heart. I do the same thing that they do. It is contagious. Now, there's something very funny that happens in this moment where we're sharing our passion. And that funny thing is this. We have an internal conversation simultaneously as we're having an external conversation. So I'm talking to you, I'm sharing my passion, I'm sharing my joy, and at the same time, I've got an internal conversation with myself. And the internal conversation with myself is like this. Oh, I wonder if they're interested. Oh, maybe I'm talking too much. They made a funny face there. Why do I do this? Maybe I should let them talk. I wonder if they're bored. That was stupid. Why did I just say that? What happens in this moment is we got about 50% of our conversation directed at somebody else, and we have 50% of our conversation inside of our own head. That subluxates the communication that we're trying to share with other people. I promise you, the person who shares their good news with me and they're passionate, they're not wondering if I like hunting or not. I've never had somebody ask me, do I enjoy hunting, before they tell me about their hunting story. Why? Doesn't matter. They're not having that internal dialogue. They're just like, I love this. I can't wait to share this with somebody. Hey, coach, here you go. Here's some good news. How do I see this play out? When the doctor tells me their good news and it's patient stories and they're getting excited about it and they're kind of going along, this is what they'll say to me. I know you got a lot of stuff to go over, and I'm sorry, but this is really so important. I couldn't wait to tell you. I'm so excited about this. They're apologetic. I didn't ask them to apologize. Why are they feeling compelled to apologize? Because they're in the moment. Their brain is telling them, you're doing too much. You're going too long. He's got stuff to do. Please, just shut up already. They're not apologizing to make me feel better. They're apologizing to make their brain feel better. I don't want you to have that internal dialogue when you're sharing your passion with people. I want you to be like the people who just share their passion and their joy with me. Just let it stand on its own. Here's the example that I want you to have in your mind. An open fire. Fire in a fireplace or in a campfire. You know that you can fan those flames, get those coals burning red hot. As soon as you pull the fan off of that, woof, it blazes up even stronger and brighter and warmer than it was before. That's enthusiasm. That's the energy that you bring when you're fanning the flame, what you're passionate about, the love for chiropractic care, the love for people, the love for the results, the love for subluxation, whatever it is. You bring the energy and fan those flames, that fire burns hotter and everybody around you gets warm. And that's true for what you love, just as it is true for giving space to other people with what they love. Right? You do it for people. People will do it for you as well. There's a danger here. And for maybe the first time in my career, absolutely the first time in my career, I'm going to use the example of Hitler to teach a point. Hitler was an enthusiastic speaker. You watch those videos, all those wild, like animated articulations and his face and just all that stuff that he was doing. He was working the crowd. And through that enthusiasm, he did some really evil things. But the principle still stands. Enthusiasm is the yeast that raises the dough. Hitler just used the dough for a lot of horrible, horrible stuff. You can use it for good. If you fan those flames consistently, every single day, not thinking about the blah days, not thinking about the internal dialogue, if you fan the flames consistently, you will have your best year ever. Like if you wanted to start this now in November and work on it all of next year, by this time next year, you'll say, I've had my best year ever. Really, in what ways? Well, we collected more money. Oh, that's great. We saw more people. That's great. But I just feel more fulfilled and more rewarded in this. People get it. They're in tune with me. They're on my purpose. They're on my mission. When we talk about being on purpose and intentional and on mission and catching fire, people will gather to watch you burn. We're talking about this quality of enthusiasm. Number 6. I hope that you Google enthusiasm in leaders or leaders with enthusiasm. Those two key words. And when you do, you're going to find millions of hits in a microsecond. And of those millions of hits, you're going to find thousands of research articles that are researched and studied and put together in a scholarly way. And they're going to explain to you that enthusiastic leaders are the best leaders. Can you be a leader without enthusiasm? Yeah. Would you be a better leader with enthusiasm? No doubt about it. Enthusiastic leaders are not only effective leaders, they are infective leaders, not ineffective, infective. They infect the people around them with a higher vision, a higher mission, a higher purpose, a higher calling, exciting stuff. So who are you leading? Well, firstly, you're leading yourself. You're leading your family, you're leading your children, you're leading your staff, you're leading your patients. And those are just the people in direct leadership. There are many people that you have an influence on and an effect on that are indirectly led by you. People that you set an example to. They pattern themselves after you. Now, I know you don't think about that. I don't think about that. But there are people who use us as a pattern. We're, in effect, leading those people as well. So if you're going to be a leader and be the best leader, and you're going to pursue for the God-given potential that you have to have enthusiasm. We started with a Dr. Owen quote, probably the most well-known quote that he had on enthusiasm. He has another one. This one's not as well known. It says, if you're going to be enthusiastic, it says it just like that. If you're going to be enthusiastic, you must act enthusiastic. What in the heck does that mean? Well, me try to put it together. Already talked about the mundane of life, the routine of life, the bad days, the blah days, the stinking days where you don't want to be enthusiastic. Here's what Owen knew, tried to teach us. If you'll choose to be enthusiastic in those moments when you don't feel like it, what you're going to find is you start genuinely feeling enthusiastic because you chose to act enthusiastic. Maybe for the first hour or two, it doesn't feel real. But watch yourself. That infectious nature, that contagious nature, that's more powerful for your internal than it is for anybody outside of you. So you act enthusiastic even when you don't feel like it. And you start to become and genuinely feel enthusiastic. So if we're going to modify that phrase or try to make it make more sense today, if you're going to be enthusiastic, you must act enthusiastic. Close quote, parentheses, even when you don't feel like it. See, that's what's going to make the difference for you and me. Anybody can be enthusiastic on the good days. Everybody's enthusiastic when their kiddo is born. Everybody's enthusiastic when they're baptized. Everybody's enthusiastic on their wedding day. Everybody's enthusiastic when they win the lottery. But who's enthusiastic when the kiddo is sick or the parents are passing or we got the IRS or the whatever? See, that's where you make a difference. That's where you in the moment are competing for something better. You're deciding to compete for a better day, a better version of yourself, and become more than what you are. So I want to give you two things here. Well, it's actually four things, but they're both combined. When you try to practically apply this. Number one, be consistent and authentic with what you're enthusiastic about. Don't try to be enthusiastic just to sell somebody something or convert them to your way of thinking or like to impress them. Be like somebody, be like a little kid who's excited about something and is just going to go on and on about it with no thought of salesmanship or is it being accepted or does this help me out or whatever. Be enthusiastic consistently and authentically just for the sake of enthusiasm. Share it with your team. Share it with your patients. Share it with the doctors in your town. Share it with people who have no desire to see a chiropractor. You're not trying to get them to see a chiropractor. You're trying to share your love and your passion because it's contagious. Second, double is be patient and be forgiving with yourself. This effort will be like any other skill that you've tried to adopt, especially skills where you feel inadequate. Remember mirror time and prayer time and quiet time and affirmations and reading your goals. Remember all that stuff you had to work through, like, oh, I don't feel like doing it, and this really isn't me, and I'm a big imposter. This is a fraud. I'm just not comfortable. This is awkward. When will I ever get this right? You go through all these struggle points because that's the process of getting this habit developed. Right? Anything that you've done, swimming, riding a bike, driving a car, whatever, anything you've done, created into a habit, you didn't do well in the beginning. So give yourself patience here because it's going to take weeks or even months before you feel even a little bit adequate, a little bit doing this the right way. Be forgiving when you mess up. I guarantee you're going to mess up. You're going to have days that it's off your radar. You're going to have days you don't live up to your standards. Forgive yourself. Learn through trial and error. Learn how to do it better. Be more authentic. Be more sincere. Be more consistent. Allow yourself to experience both the highs of success and the lows of setback. Because as long as you're learning, you're getting better. You're growing and getting stronger. So here's how I'm going to tie it all together for you. Here's how I'm going to prove how powerful this is. And this is going to share with you a lot of the points that we just navigated. Many times at our AMC summits, our line summits, we have an opportunity to talk about results in the cases our doctors are working with. Excuse me. And when we do that, It's so funny how those classes begin. Hey, we're going to talk about your good cases. Maybe we're talking about comparative treatments or cost or, concepts or philosophy. There's a reason behind it. We're going to talk about the cases that you've worked with. Tell us some of your best cases. And there's about 10 to 15 seconds of awkwardness, silence. And then one timid hand will break the ice. They tell their story. They finish their story, and then two hands get raised over here. They tell their story. Now we're up to 3 to 5 hands. We call on some more people. About 10 minutes of this exercise, we will have people who normally never participate in the class. People on their phones all day long in classes. Yes, we see you. We know where you are. We know who you are. They'll be like, ooh, call on me. I got a great one. I can't wait to share this. Now, they've never raised their hand, never even uttered a word at one of our summits. But now this class is the class that they just can't wait to share. And it's true for the doctors and the staff. Like, everybody starts getting excited about this and gets to the point that when it's time to stop the exercise and move on or break for lunch or whatever, I, as the instructor, have heard, I can vouch for this, I hear this sound at the end of it. Okay, folks, that's all the time we have for this. We've got to, oh, a groan. It's like kids being told it's time to leave Disney World. Oh, I do a lot of teaching. And I teach on a lot of subjects. I bet you can guess how many times I get, oh, when I'm teaching on a subject that is not chiropractic results and patient success. Yes, you love it. Yes, you're passionate about it. Yes, it gets you jazzed up in a way that nothing else does. And that's what I want you to do. That's really what I want you to stretch to do, is be enthusiastic, authentically and consistently about that which you love, just like you do with me when I give you a safe space to do it. Just do it with everybody. Do it with your staff daily, patients daily, your family daily. Do it with people that you meet hunting at BNI and Rotary and at the bank. And allow people to get a moment of enthusiasm from you, because the worst that can happen is, for a brief moment in their blah day, they are elevated. Please, please, please make that a part of your day today. Not just for a day, not just for a week, not just for a year. Make it part of who you are. Let that enthusiasm radiate genuinely from inside out. And you watch not only the impact it has in your life, but it has in the lives of the people around you. Folks, I sure do appreciate your time and attention. I hope this is another one that you're going to find very, very useful. Please keep those suggestions and those comments coming to our mailbag. That is mailbag@amcfamily.com. And one more thing before we go. If you're a chiropractor who's searching for a better way to build a more sustainable, low-stress practice, then you can contact us at amcfamily.com. You can schedule a discovery session, or you can access any of our free content, webinars, podcasts, and the like.